The Art of Retribution. It was the first time in 2 years that Leo had to walk alone to the gym after school. The journey was tough enough with Aaron by his side, but now that Aaron lay unconscious in the hospital, it felt like an unbearable burden. Leo scrunched his nose at the familiar smell of stale sweat as he settled onto the bottom bleacher. In the 30 minutes between the end of school and the start of basketball practice, they used to hang out in the cafeteria with the other athletes. But after news of their relationship broke, things changed. Leo and Aaron met when Leo was a freshman and Aaron was a sophomore. They quickly became best friends, and before long, their bond deepened into something more. With a heavy heart, Leo pulled out his sketchbook and prized set of Prismacolor pencils from his backpack. Flipping to a page, he saw a drawing that tugged at his heart. It was of Aaron, sprawled on his stomach, chin resting on his hands. Eyes closed, he looked peaceful. Leo had always thought he looked like an angel in that moment. After practice, Leo intended to rush to the hospital to visit Aaron. Just days before, a teacher found Aaron unconscious and brutally beaten near the gym exit. He had suffered a concussion, ruptured spleen, multiple broken ribs, severe bruising on internal organs, and a fractured skull. Leo had his suspicions about who was responsible, but without proof, he knew the culprits would likely go unpunished. The doctor had said Aaron would eventually wake up, but there was a possibility of brain damage from the assault. As a tear dropped onto the open page of his sketchbook, Leo tried to wipe it away but only managed to smudge Aaron's ear. His throat tightened at the thought of Aaron in pain. He carefully cleaned the smudge and redrew the ear. Then, pulling out a pouch of colored pencils, he began to add life to his drawing. He had decided to frame it and place it next to Aaron's hospital bed, believing it might bring some comfort to his boyfriend. The half hour before practice passed in a blur. Leo wiped his damp eyes with his fleece jacket sleeve as voices began to fill the hallway. He knew the bell would ring soon, and he tried to keep his head down, wishing to avoid unwanted attention. As students poured into the gym, Leo heard the unmistakable laughter of the Jerks, a duo notorious for tormenting others. Jake Anderson, clad in his blue Crestwood High football jersey with the number 54, and his sidekick Derek Mills with the number 22 were well known for their cruelty. Without warning, Jake knocked Leo's sketchpad to the floor, pages fluttering like leaves in the wind as they fell. Both boys burst into laughter, reveling in their petty cruelty. "Hey, what's this, Leo? Drawing fairies and rainbows?" Jake bellowed, his voice echoing through the gym. Girls from across the room turned to see what was happening, and some chuckled as they walked by, purposely stepping on the fallen sketchbook, which had landed open to the drawing of Aaron. "Hey, Leo. What's up, man? Ignoring me now?" Jake jeered. Derek picked up the sketchpad, holding it as if it were a venomous snake. Footprints marred Aaron's face. "Yo, look at this!" Derek exclaimed. "Just give it back," Leo shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. Derek turned the sketchpad around for Jake to see. They both froze for a moment before howling with laughter. "Oh my God! You're so gay! You and Aaron!" Jake cackled. With mocking curiosity, he added, "So, I guess Aaron's the pitcher and you're the catcher, right?" Heat rushed to Leo's face as he stood up abruptly. The laughter stopped instantly and Jake stepped closer, their faces inches apart. Leo could smell the staleness of the chips on Jake's breath, but he refused to back down. "Tell me, faggot, is it a requirement to suck cock to be on the basketball team? Or did you just get lucky?" Jake taunted. Summoning all his courage, Leo replied, "You really don't see the irony in calling me a faggot while you're busy checking out every guy in the locker room, do you?" Jake took a menacing step toward him, pushing Leo backward until he fell onto the bleachers. "Don't you ever call me a fag. I've had more girls than you could imagine." Derek dropped the sketchpad, and Jake picked it up, ripping out the drawing of Aaron and tearing it into pieces. He crumpled them up, letting them fall to the floor before ripping the remaining pages in half and tossing them into the air like confetti. Leo sat there, head bowed, arms covering his face. He waited until the gym emptied before changing for practice alone. The janitor pushed his cart through the doors and stopped, shaking his head at the mess of papers on the ground. The janitor approached Leo and began collecting the torn pages. When he found the crumpled drawing of Aaron, Leo felt a pang of panic. "Hey, don't!" Leo called out, and the janitor paused, surprised, handing the crumpled pages back. "Thanks," Leo muttered, staring at the name stitched on the janitor's shirt. "Malik." "What was it?" "A drawing of your boyfriend," Malik asked with a knowing smile. Leo buried his face in his hands, embarrassed. "And no, just a friend." Malik sat beside Leo. "Can I see it?" "No," Leo whispered, shaking his head. "It's ruined." Malik rose, retrieving the other torn pieces from his cart. "These are really good. You're talented." Leo hesitated, then looked at Malik. "You really think so?" Malik nodded. "Of course. You should keep going with your art." With a grin, Malik produced a new sketchbook, offering it to Leo. "I think you'll find inspiration in these blank pages. Draw someone you love, or someone you hate." Leo hesitated but accepted the sketchbook, his heart racing. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely," Malik replied, his eyes sparkling with encouragement. After practice, Leo rushed to the hospital, stopping only at a store to buy a frame for the new drawing. Upon entering Aaron's room, he saw Aaron's mother holding his hand, her face a mix of hope and despair. "Hi, Leo," she said softly. Leo felt paralyzed. He took a seat away from her, watching Aaron still form, his heart aching at the thought of the torment his boyfriend had endured. He was sure he knew who had done this to him. Anger surged through Leo as he thought of Jake and Derek. After a few minutes, Aaron's mother looked at Leo. "Would you like to sit closer?" Sitting next to Aaron felt surreal, like being at a wake. The ventilator's rhythmic whoosh reminded Leo of the brutal beating Aaron had suffered. He reached for Aaron's hand, squeezing it gently. Behind him, he heard a soft sob from Aaron's mother. When he felt ready, Leo opened the sketchbook and began to draw. He focused on Aaron's bruises and stitches, capturing every detail. The ache in his hand grew, but he pushed through, wanting to create something beautiful. He carefully tore out the page and framed it, placing it on the bedside table. Aaron's mother placed a hand on Leo's shoulder, and he flinched, surprised. "I want you to know we've known for a long time," she said gently. Relief washed over Leo as he embraced her, both of them in tears. In that moment, it felt like a weight lifted off his shoulders. "I'll leave you alone with Aaron for a few minutes, okay?" she said, and Leo nodded. Once alone, he gazed at Aaron's still form, the ventilator hissing softly. He took the drawing from the frame, studying the details closely. He didn't like how the drawing reflected the harshness of reality. The stitches looked cartoonish, oversized. Leo carefully erased the stitches, looking back at Aaron. To his shock, he saw the real Aaron's cheek was clear. No scars, no stitches. "What the hell?" Leo whispered. As he sat down hard, the realization struck him. The drawing reflected what he wanted to see, not what was there. He redrew the scar, and it returned to Aaron's face. With trembling hands, he grabbed the maroon-colored pencil and redefined the bruises. The moment he looked back at Aaron, the same bruises appeared. His mind raced with possibilities. Leo realized he could manipulate the drawing, giving life to what was drawn. Fueled by a newfound sense of power, he turned to a blank page and began sketching Jake and Derek, complete with their jersey numbers 54 and 22. The figures came together with startling clarity, as if Leo could see them vividly in his mind. Then a darker idea emerged, one that chilled him to the bone. His hand moved on its own, pencil hovering over the paper, excitement and dread mingling within him. Several miles away, Jake and Derek were wrapping up football practice, laughing and joking. Suddenly, Jake dropped to the ground, shock etched across his face. His legs below the knees had vanished, blood pooling beneath him. Derek screamed as he fell, his arms disappearing as well. The chaos erupted on the field as teammates rushed over in horror, while the cheerleaders gasped in shock. Amidst the commotion, Leo felt a sick thrill of satisfaction. He stared at the sketchbook, trembling with exhilaration and dread. Leo smiled, a devilish grin spreading.